Hello and welcome to Royale Without Cheese, our bi-weekly podcast in which we discuss both the classic and the unknown of Hollywood and foreign cinema from the then and now. We are your hosts, me, Miguel Aido, Tomás Ferreira, hello Tomás,
Hello, hello.
and Leonardo Miranda.
Here I am.
Three filmmakers in an informal dialogue with a film review each episode. As part of our Pacific Northwest dog search, reviews in both English and Portuguese will be available for different listeners. Today's episode will be in English, and we'll be having a go at Kelly Reichardt's Wendy and Lucy. Portuguese speakers can add to the Portuguese labeled content section. Don't forget to subscribe, share this episode, or simply give us a like. That's how our podcast can grow ever more groovy. Now sit back and enjoy.
But yeah, what did you make of it?
I'll ask you first. You have seen her previous films, so
I mean, yeah, I did watch. I watched some of her films in preparation. I hadn't seen before. I mean, I watched because we were going to talk about it on the podcast. And yeah, I liked it. Like most of her films, I thought Certain Women and Wendy and Lucy were the best ones of the ones I watched. I also watched Old Joy and Meek's Cutoff. They're good too, but I wasn't as impressed. But maybe it's because they were the first two I watched, so I was still becoming familiar with her minimalist style and her settings. The Pacific Northwest.
that's specific.
Yeah, which is interesting because she's from Florida or something. So I don't know why she's fascinated by it, but it's cool.
Yeah, I think isn't that the complete opposite?
Yeah, it's
Or yeah,
I have mixed feelings about this film.
ooh,
Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah, I'm not sure I liked it. I mean, I definitely want to like it because I do like the performances. Wendy's and the office, the guard that helps her. But I don't know. It feels a bit dry, a bit light on plot, which I know is what she wanted to do anyways. The film, it's very grounded, so I wasn't expecting this huge narrative. And you can tell that that's where she's going from the beginning. But still, the film still does that, and I'm not sure I really enjoyed it. It definitely didn't ring any emotional. It didn't ring emotionally to me. So yeah, I'm a little torn. I don't know what you thought, Tomas.
well, for starters, being a dog owner, this is particularly difficult for me. You cannot make a dog owner watch a film about a dog and not make him cry at some point. I know that dog is going to get either lost, abandoned, or fucking die. So that's a problem. The moment that dog got lost, I was like, I need my dog right now, right here. I gotta fetch my dog, put him in bed, grabbed him by the paw, and I was like, okay, you need to endure this with me until the end because I cannot see this alone.
I also watched it with my cat, actually.
Yeah,
So your dog was safe, and you dragged them into that mess.
I mean, it's more like my dog making me feel safe. And that's the whole point of the film. What I find interesting about Kelly Reichardt's Wendy and Lucy is that the whole point of view, the whole angle of the story is not from the perspective of, it's like I'm going to argue whose perspective is more interesting, the dog or the owner. But the other film about human relationships with animals, with dogs in particular, I remember, is Achiko with Richard Gere. It's like the other famous film about, that kind of relationship.
Yeah.
It doesn't get seen often. You don't get to see that relationship with dogs often. And it's like one of the most precious relationships with animals that humans have because it's very tangible. They're very perceptive, emotionally creatures. And I think there should be more of that. It's such an untapped thing of filmmaking, of cinema, that it should deserve that. Because it can be
quite
easily...
a lot of dog films.
There is? Well, I don't know. I didn't know.
There's that one, A Dog's Purpose.
Oh, I don't know that. Are there B movies that I never heard about?
Yeah, I mean more in that.
Like cheap movies from
cheaper
Fox Life.
movies, something like that. A little. I mean, A Dog's Purpose, not really. It is, but there's also
Marley
the
and
Tim
Me.
Allen, Marley and Me, Tim Allen film where he gets turned into a dog.
Yeah, I was obsessed with that film when I was a kid.
Yeah. Beethoven.
There's that
big
Bolt,
dog.
the animation.
Yeah, but but that's the thing. Those films are not really tapping into the nuances of the relationship of the owner and the dog. Those are comedies, those are light stuff.
Power of the Dog.
Power of the Dog. Not really. But this is to say that Chico is from the perspective of the dog, kind of. He loses the owner. You're kind of wondering what happens to the owner. Now Mike is laughing. And it's interesting that in this film with Wendy and Lucy, you're kind of left with the owner. And I think, it's very endearing to see the human being, the rational, kind of superior, quote unquote, species, needing to being so distressed for the...
I wouldn't put it that way, but sure.
In the sense...
Yeah, I understand what you're going.
You understand what I mean. It's in the sense, what I mean to say deep down is that it's easy to dismiss dogs. It's easy to dismiss the relationship with dogs. That's why, to some people, pets, animals, they don't matter. And it's because they don't do... It's to say this, it's like it will seem stupid, but it's obvious and it's there, which is people dismiss it because they don't communicate like us, because they don't do things like us, because they're, irrational animals, they're dogs. On the other hand, out of the whole animal kingdom, they're kind of one of those that are very perceptive emotionally and that we keep close and that stay with us on a day-to-day basis and give, kind of love that is unconditional love. And so it's very cool to me to see a film where you have the human, not the dog, going back to the owner or to the place where the owner died and trying to figure out where the owner is, like in Chico, but a film where the actual human being is the one who cares. That's what I mean. Is the one going back to the dog, and she stays in that little town. She doesn't leave, even though she has a promise of a job somewhere else in Alaska to make money, even though she needs that money. She's there, fixed, held by her conviction in finding her dog and her love for the dog, and she just bangs on every door possible. And meanwhile, she's trying to fix these very mundane situations with the car, with prison. And I kind of like that day-to-day. It's all connected with her effort to save the dog, which you don't know if it's going to happen. And in your skeptic view of things, I think it's not going to happen. You're not going to get it. You're not going to get it. And when she gets it, I'm actually surprised when we arrive at the end and the dog is there. She finds the dog. I'm very happy for her. I started crying.
Yeah.
It's like, I rather see a human being got shot in the face, like I said in the group chat. I rather see that because I'm so used to human violence on films than seeing a dog die or a dog get... I think that hits me emotionally, like immediately, a lot more. Maybe because we don't see a lot of dog films, like serious dog films. And so when this happened, I felt it. And then the idea that, I can't cope with this relationship no longer, in the sense that to bring you with me, you'll bring even more trouble. So I'll come back for you when I'm more stable financially or something. That's kind of the conclusion to the film. And it's sad and hurtful, and I'm left there crying. And so in that sense, I think at the very end, that's where the film lifts the emotional resonance. It builds over time, you see. But I do agree with you, Miguel, in the sense that the film can be very dry. But it's the natural construction of the film, I guess, that by the nature of what it is, of what it promises as narrative, it's going to be not as, emotionally connective with the main character right there from the beginning as other films would.
It's funny to me because it's clearly an American indie film, but at the same time it has a real niche in terms of target audience, because clearly people with that own dogs, and I don't own dogs, clearly will resonate with the film more. And so, at least with my case, you're left with the rest of the film in terms of these challenges that she's facing and how she overcomes them. or not, because she ends up not overcoming most of the things. She gets arrested. The car breaks down. Really everything that has been happening to her, she goes against it, and she fails. And so for me, the sort of emotional connection happened at those moments rather than anything that really was connected with the dog, and the ending included. So
Yes, I can
moments
see
like,
what you mean. Yeah.
yeah, moments like she realizing that the car fix costs $2,000, or the guy giving her the money. I mean, these moments were, for me, were more beautiful in a sense than exactly the ending. But again, that's what I meant in the beginning. The film really resonates with different people depending on whether you own dogs or not.
Yeah.
So
I like everything for me worked in the film. Those more human moments, or those like specific problems that she has, I also felt like frustrated for her and connected with her. I think the film for me worked in its entirety, and I completely felt, because I had watched other films of her, so it wasn't like I didn't feel a clash of or having to adapt to the style anymore. So yeah, I was immediately in the groove of it, in the slow pace, just following a character, a drifter, go around, uh, deal with these problems. I found it very engaging, and yeah, also by the end, I'm also getting teary eyed. It's impossible for me. Like, but not so much when she reconnects with the dog, but more when she slowly starts, coming
Yeah,
to the
yeah,
realization that she
exactly.
has to leave the dog.
Yeah.
That's so fucking heartbreaking.
That was the moment. Like, she's saying that it's a nice yard. I'm like, oh
Yeah.
no, don't do that, please, no. The
I was
moment she
like, God
says
damn
that,
it.
I was literally saying, no, 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 no.
No.
Like, yelling at the TV.
And in that sense, the fact that we follow her without the dog for so long is what makes that moment really work, because you
Exactly,
understand
exactly.
what's the problem there is that the dog now has a home and she doesn't, and she can't give the dog a home. That's the problem. And that's very touching and super well built.
It's very difficult to be caring for a dog and traveling when you don't have a place to be and you have little money, so you resort to your car. And if you leave him, her, it in a car to go, you think of these practical questions on a day-to-day basis, getting to go outside to go get food and go back to the car that functions as a home. If she leaves the dog in the car, it's like, well, there he is, mine. It's She has to consider that it's hot outside. It's probably summer. That's how I see the film, and she's going to suffocate inside the car. So I need to bring her with me. I need to tie her into that exterior part where they put the bikes by the supermarket, and that's even another thing I have to think about, because what if I go inside, somebody steals my dog? So you're always with the concern that my baby is going to be stolen. So yeah, that brings a lot of suspense. And the idea of suspense is also embedded in the beginning. I love this very simple idea of suspense that is built just from the editing in these close-ups of these other drifters that look a little more ragtag than her. When she's at night and passes by that fire going on by the forest, by the train tracks, and you see these very sleazy guys, it's just the teeth and the whole presence of the physicality of them speaking loads, and it doesn't matter what they're doing specifically. It's just how they behave with the silly dancing and the weird, unconnected, rambling stories that they have from other places and their misbehavior that makes you feel uncomfortable. And the fact that there is one person, one girl that kind of has a nice conversation with her is an interesting, out of balance, unexpected scenario, because then she's locked into the situation with them and she needs to talk with her about, oh, that's a nice dog you have. Where did you get him? And it's a casual, nice conversation with a stranger. But then again, there is another level of tension with this other guy coming into the scene. And so she's locked in two different ways, in a nice way, because there's somebody pleasant in there that keeps her there, while that someone pleasant is petting her dog. But in the meantime, she has to deal with this other guy. You feel the energy of pushing away this other guy who is rambling on, and you're just thinking, when does this end? When does this end? I want to go away. Like if I was in her position, I would feel highly uncomfortable. But yeah, I thought it was very interesting the way she built that suspense purely through the editing, because she circles around the faces of everybody as the other guy is talking, and you can clearly feel what is the mechanics of her intention visually for the suspense.
It's also the framing, I think, the way
The framing as well.
She
Yeah.
has very close-ups of this hobo guy.
Mm-hmm. And she often places her character, including her protagonist Wendy, in the left side of the frame, which is a curious thing. I don't know if you noticed that. She's always placed at this side. Well, my side is the left side of the frame, and this other side is left in empty space, in negative space. And I always thought it contributed somewhat to the isolation of her in a subconscious level. And I think she gets raped, doesn't she? At least that's my perception.
I don't think she does, but
I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think the point is that it could happen, absolutely.
It could have happened, right? And she gets scared or panicked.
And in that sense of what you were
but
saying.
I don't think it happened. I think the guy just kept talking.
And then goes away.
Because it's so dark. It's so incredibly dark.
Yeah, it's too dark. I mean, I actually turned off the lights in my room, and I still couldn't see what was happening.
Like,
that's how dark that was shot.
Yeah, her I can see. There's a light on her, but him, good God, I don't know what's happening.
It's almost abstract. You can't tell what the hell is going on. I quite like.
But the train works effectively in there. The train is very good to build suspense. I really like a good old train in film.
Good old train.
But yeah, it's very effective. I was very scared during that scene. I'm feeling the tension.
And she holds in her face so long, and you see like her eyes get progressively scary. Like
because really when she's sleeping, you already know that the guy is there, and you're kind of waiting for, come on, wake up, you know, do something.
Wake up.
It's a very good performance.
There's this. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, a very contained performance throughout the film. I was thinking, wow, you see,
it's not
Michelle,
the Fablemans.
You see, Michelle, what you did here. It's not the Fablemans. The Fablemans is like, oh, come on, darling, you know, just all over the place, over the top acting. Here is very contained. Really enjoyed it.
She deserved more a nomination for this film than the Fablemans, I think.
Probably, yeah.
Maybe just because, she kind of irritated us, but.
And this early indie work that she did is quite, I was about to say something that is quite not so fair. I mean, she hasn't done many big films per se, you know. She still is in the indie scenario. She's done Venom. I was reminded of that.
Oh well, but that's a cool one to do. I'll allow it.
It's interesting. Like, I was watching her character and her wardrobe, which is so specific in this film. The wardrobe is so tight to her skin. Those what's it called? Trunks.
The ones like the
shorts. Yeah, the shorts and her little jacket is so tight to skin that you really feel the sensation of, wow, this girl has no money. I mean, how could she have like a big wallet or whatever in that? You know, there's no place to put it. And then this whole conception of having the fanny pack inside her shirt is an interesting little piece of characterization. So to show how she protects the little money that she does have beneath her clothes. But in comparison to her character, the way her character is dressed in The Fablemans, or even in Venom, where she seems to be like some kind of high-class, well-dressed character, ex-boyfriend to Eddie, played by Tom Hardy, it is quite dissonant. It is interesting to see how wide of a range of characters she plays in different styles of films. You know, one is a blockbuster, another is an indie darling. I really like her work also in Blue Valentine as well. It's like these are films within the same early indie world of hers. Blue Valentine is pretty cool, pretty good.
She's done a lot of films with Kelly, hasn't she?
I watched all of the ones that she did, actually. I think she did 3, which Certain Women.
Even in the recent one.
No, that one obviously it's not available yet. So no.
How's it called?
Showing Up.
Showing Up, yeah.
But she did Meek's Cutoff, this one, and Certain Women. She's great.
I think these last two are with A24, aren't they?
I think she's been working with A24.
I saw the poster for Showing Up. It's definitely from A24.
The last one as well, First Cow. Certain Women, I don't think so though.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but the last two, for sure.
But yeah, it's good. I mean, she has a stable production company backing her up. So
yeah, she worked a lot in these earlier, before A24. She was working with Todd Haynes. You see his name in the production credits as well. I think she directed her first feature in 1994, something like that.
Really? Wow.
She was like 10 years without working. She couldn't really get anything done. Then she met Todd Haynes and they talked, and I think, it kind of worked out, and they started working together. I think that was something along those lines.
What did they do together?
I don't know. I think they met just casually.
Todd Haynes is like this angel investor of indie films.
He's not even, I don't know if he's the investor. I think he helps connect like producers to indie filmmakers, which is cool.
Can I talk to him?
No, I mean angel investor in the sense of getting things done,
and he has very interesting films. Todd Haynes, yeah. Safe with Julianne Moore is a great film. He also has one which I want to see, Velvet Goldmine. You know, if you read that book from Christian Vachon, which is from the production company
Shoot to Kill
he has worked with, the Shoot to Kill, you see a lot of films that she produced that he's worked on. That 90s independent scene. And also, of course, that Bob Dylan film with Cate Blanchett, I think it's his, and other characters.
That film Carol with Michelle Williams as well, I think.
No, it's Cate
Blanchett.
No.
It's Cate Blanchett.
And Rooney Mara.
What else? Well, I think that, how they explore the idea of human empathy in dichotomy with the natural empathy there is between a human and a dog. That is quite immediate if you are a sensitive human being, at heart. Is interesting in the film because most humans in this film are quite, rude or cold or indifferent, and
I wouldn't say most.
You wouldn't.
Wait a minute. One person.
Wait a minute. She keeps coming back to this guard that at first is the first person actually to be rude with her and expel her out of the property.
Count.
Oh, it counts. Of course, it counts.
It counts
because he's not a bad person. I mean, you were saying bad people.
It's not exactly okay. The rudeness is a general word for. It's still indifference and a lack of empathy. But he's the one character she uses as a hook and comes back to show that to change is possible and people to see. She's the one person kind of accompanies her journey as she is trying to save her dog. And I see that Mike is going. I don't think that's the counterpoint my argument. Do tell.
No, I don't think that's the lesson there because he never was rude. He never is rude.
Oh, really. Come on.
I think it's just the bigger, I wouldn't say lesson, just the bigger sort of, whatever, I'll say lesson. The bigger lesson there, I think, is just understanding that people say things in different moments and you always have to look at them. Yeah, I mean, the guy was being rude, but then really you learn that he isn't rude. So I think it's more about understanding that people change with the context and you have to look at the people in different times and really make the whole picture of who they are rather than exactly she was dealing with rudeness all over. I mean, clearly that guy wasn't rude. I think the supermarket guy was rude and then there was this hobo in the beginning. But other than that, she really doesn't encounter that many unhelpful people. Everyone else, like the girl from the pound also is very helpful. So
I think the point is more that because of her situation, there's always an underlying like confrontation. Maybe it's not clear. It's not something that is very apparent, but there's obviously like a tension between her and the people she's in front of at all times. I think that's one of the things of the film.
There is, but I don't think. I mean.
Yeah, I don't know if it's necessarily people being rude.
I feel like
in being in her situation financially, she necessarily gets herself in situations that really allow for those things to happen. And,
exactly. Yeah, that's true. It's almost like the film discusses some kind of, contrast or tension between this, thorough character, like Thoreau was an essayist, an American essayist that uplifted a living in nature and he went to the wilderness, settle himself in a cabin, and just live there and wrote about how to survive in nature and live with nature and live at peace and away from civilization and reconnecting with a primal sense of self. And I think that these characters of drifters, I even think that one of the drifters speaks in these terms, that he's tired of the people in this town and tired of the way that kind of, I'm going to pull off the term society, works and deals, society, works and deals within itself, that, the bureaucracies and institutions and the way things work and the so-called principles, we get why they work, but sometimes, they propel for unfair, or should I say, complex situations to be solved, because she's in a very delicate situation. You want to help her out, from the bottom of your heart. You want to see her as a spectator survive this situation, but she's also, as you have a sense at the same time that she's the culprit of her own situation because of her financial situation, how she presents. The mere fact that she risks herself to steal fruit from the supermarket, go outside to check on the dog, like she says, is putting herself at risk. So it's ambiguous, but what I mean by the bureaucracies of societies, is her going to the police station, and then just the tiresome aspect of going through the process of being in jail for a little deed. That's what interested me so much, is that you steal something from the supermarket, what happens next? And the film kind of answers this for me. You go to jail and you stay there, you get your fingerprints taken, you stay there for a little while, then you get your fingerprints taken again because, oh hell, the machine broke off, and they need to pay a fine, and if not this fine, it adds up to another fine. If you don't want to do it now, you got to go to court. And these whole aspects of money and the implications of money and the implications in conversations, if you do this or if you don't do this, the difficulties intrinsic to human relationships within a society, taken here as an example, as a small community in a small town, are much more difficult dealings than the simple dealings with a dog, where the transaction is with petting and food and playtime. It's much more simple, and there's love, and there's similar things like love and sadness and being mad at your dog or not mad at your dog. It's just interesting, the parallel that you have between a human and a dog, relationship, and a human to human relationship that forms in your head. These are the ideas that form in my head. Even if this is a film where the dog is missing most of the time, that's kind of the parallels that I'm branching. And just to see that I'm not kind of messing up or inventing stuff up from thin air, this kind of situation repeats itself as an interest of Kelly Reichardt. When later on she's at the car stand and she asks for how much is it, and he starts explaining, that this is due to the motor and then the engine, then the oil, and adds up numbers and numbers. And if you don't want to do that, it's going to cost you half this and double that. And it's like, Jesus fucking Christ, being an adult sucks. So there's this undercurrent on how,
being a poor adult sucks.
Yeah, exactly. Specifically that. And I think there's this underlying current of how human relationships are difficult within the.
It show does a great job of showing how precious money is when you have so little of it. Every time another thing costs money for her, I was like, God damn, why doesn't it stop? There's so many little fees and things. You go to jail, you have to pay for this and that. It's like, God, all for dog food. It's like one of those things where, come on, just pay it yourself, poor woman. She wants to feed her dog. She shouldn't steal, I guess, but at the same time,
it's an interesting thing, this idea that she has something that is undisclosed to us that she wants to achieve, seemingly, by she's storing all that money. We see her at the beginning of the film counting the notes, and you have always this sense that in her little notebook there's some kind of dream that she wants to fulfill, but we never get quite enough of her backstory. Why is she estranged from her family? Why is she isn't contacting enough? What is she trying to achieve with this amount of money?
With the sister and the husband. It's also very strange. Yeah, she leaves little hints of tension there as well.
Clearly, with the sister, it's a little more complicated than with the what do you say, the brother-in-law.
The sister is very mean and you can't make too much a judgment. You don't know what's the background there. But
Yeah, I think it would have helped the film if we knew what her end goal with the money was. Something, just something, because we don't know what's the end goal with the money. That's one aspect about her and her aspiration, wish, whatever. And then also we don't know what is the reason for this, the estranged distance with her family / sister. So there's borders around the character which I feel should that have really been left invisible or to the side. I mean, some aspects I understand, but
the family maybe a little bit more could have helped. The money, I'm not sure, because it could have been super easy to just, I have a dream of being this or that, and it's just there for nothing. It's just so you know something about the character.
Yeah, I agree.
Whereas,
I can understand
everybody
that, yeah.
has ambitions, everybody has things they want to be. So you can kind of fill in.
In a way, it's even more interesting that I don't know what it is, because by not knowing what it is, it's frustrating because I know you do have the money to pay these things. So what is that dream? What is that dream? You're always constantly asking. So it's even better because of it, I guess, from that. And
I'm not sure either. And I think it's partly because one of the strengths of the film, narratively, I think it's this point where you realize this is not going to be a story about her going to Alaska. This is going to stay in this town, which happens at certain points, when you're constantly thinking, okay, when is this going to move along from the car being fixed and then she moving on or finding the dog, but then you realize you're going to stay here and this is going to be about finding Lucy. And yeah, I said this is one of the more interesting things because it really shifts your expectations of where the film is going, and narratively it's like a punch, I think. So yeah, I wouldn't also include a lot of details about her past life because I think that would turn the focus too much on something that Kelly really didn't want to focus on.
I mean, to me, it's more. I agree with Leo in the sense that I would include details on where she wants to go or what she wants to do with the money, like the future prospect of it. But I would have included at least some details of her past, like why is she estranged from her family. Just give something that help us connect a little bit further with the character.
Yeah, of her past, but I think the future, I think it's enough. I mean, they refer Alaska, the town, the guy,
I mean, for all intents and purposes, sure. I still, I like the film. I like how the character is. I have no problems with it. It's just, for as far as what could have the film done better, for the sake of that argument or conversation, this is what I think, could have been done. Maybe that area.
It's hard. I think it's one of those films you really struggle to find the things you can improve because it's seemingly everything is there. The performances are great. Dialogues are just spotless. Really, you can't really change them much, and it's all very solid. It's just in the nature of the story that it is, that it's already an hour and 20 minutes. I mean, it's already pretty short, but still, you feel this dryness that that's something that could be there that perhaps make it a little bit more engaging. But maybe just have to be a bit patient.
I'm a fan of the dryness. I think
yeah,
we've been talking about like the films that instrumentalize misery and that type of thing. Whereas I think here it's done very well. It's done tastefully.
That's a good point.
It's not just making her suffer. It doesn't kill the dog immediately.
Yeah.
It's actually, that's why it's also very surprising when she finds Lucy, because I genuinely did not expect it to happen. I thought it was going to make her suffer more and be like, you're never going to find the dog. But it makes it even sadder that then she leaves the dog because you know how much she wants to be with her. I think it's super well done in that sense. And I was really impressed. Yeah, it's not the whale.
Yeah, I was thinking about that. It's not the whale. Yeah.
It definitely isn't the whale, that's true.
But it's, it's different ways of taking care of, like, dealing with these things. I like this way more. I think feels more honest for me.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, I think so. And it's difficult. I understand that for writers that's a difficult thing, but that's the jump you need to make. Like, it's easy to instrumentalize misery, to instinctively think of getting the secret out, exposed easily to making if she needs to suffer, if you need to like her, then make her get a shot in the foot or something. I don't know, just something that makes you feel some kind of pity for her or him, the character. But the challenge that is more rewarding is really to think how to bend around those easy scenarios or roads and to try make it.
But I don't think it's that simple, because it's not like anything that is a little bit more is necessarily a manipulation of misery. I mean, there are people that are just more miserable and have more miserable lives and miserable things happening.
But it's the way you deal with that. It's the way you deal with that misery. It's not that, there are people who really live through the shit and you need to show it, but it's how you show it.
Yeah, like for example, the scene with the supermarket kid. Like that could have easily like gone into a territory where I'm just like, ugh, it's just forced. It's just annoying. It's just trying to make her suffer. But I didn't feel that, because the film is populated with all these characters that then also show a lot of humanity, especially that guard, as we were talking, who initially is the one who puts her in a, get her out of that parking lot, but then gradually shows little more empathy that initially you thought, this is going to be another asshole who just treats her like shit for the rest of the film. But no, he even gives her money by the end, and he gives her a phone, like he offers the phone. Like people aren't just pieces of shit for no reason. They show also humanity and empathy. And that's what I prefer, like, because it does make the film sadder, because there are these moments where she experiences these little happinesses, these little empathies that are pretty cool. And that's just real life. It happens, Sometimes people treat you like shit, but other times they don't.
It's precisely what Miguel was saying at the beginning of this review. And essentially, I was redeemed from calling them rude to really see the people as, moment by moment, just dealing with the scenarios they are presented. Like now I think like that, it's not necessarily rudeness. It's just people doing their job and saying what comes to their first instinct or principle that comes with the job. And then changing if they receive the character again in a different context and they see her in a different light. Like, for example, the guard. The kid is really obnoxious. It's our principles. And I was like, oh God, Jesus Christ.
Yeah. Good Christian boy.
But the interesting thing in that scene, good Christian boy. The interesting thing in that scene, like you said, Leo, is that it doesn't go. By that scene, I mean the scene where she's brought on to the boss's office by the boy in the supermarket or mini market. Is that there's a balance between the thoroughness and determination of the boy in calling the cops, bringing her in, and the boss being quite a little bit not sure how to respond to this. It's quite awkward. She hasn't done anything grave, but yes, the principle, you can see kind of the decisions grinding in his head, and that's interesting. There's some kind of a humanity behind his eyes. And I think that brings some realism to the scene, that not everybody comes out or from the standpoint of get out of my lawn, what are you doing, you stupid bitch, with horrible words and horrible behavior, and that's the kind of thing that it's easy. Like a writer, you start writing these things. Okay, now the character is going to get kicked off. What should the character, the owner of the property, do? A writer needs to get around those things, I think.
Yeah, and Wendy, she also gives back to some extent. She shares those bottles with those guys with the shopping carts that were trying to exchange money for those bottles. So, as I said in the beginning, it's a lot about empathy, and she is capable of that as well. So you see a lot of these moments, but also in her as well. I'm not sure she does a lot more for other people, but she does do that. That's all for today. If you'd like to reach out and suggest a film for the next episode, you can find us on the podcast official Instagram and Facebook pages. Don't forget to subscribe, share this episode, or simply give us a like. That's how our podcast can grow ever groovier. Thanks for listening, and see you next time.
Adios.
See you next time. Woof, woof, whoopity-doo.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.